Good morning, and thank you for joining the webinar today, The Emerging Green Homes Marketplace, Fears, Challenges, and Solutions. I'm Carolyn Sarno-Goldthwaite of Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnerships, and we're very pleased to have you join us this morning along with some of my colleagues and our featured speaker, Craig Foley. We're here to discuss this morning some of the fears and challenges that real estate community faces in the rapidly emerging green or high-performance homes marketplace. One of the solutions for, or rather a central challenge that many of you face, is how to accurately account for data into the MLS, and that is what we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss what data is currently out there, what we're seeing in the marketplace with potential home buyers, an opportunity for the real estate market, and then a solution that we have for all of you. The webinar is being recorded today and will be made available on the NEEP website. We'll also send around a link to all of the attendees who registered for it. During the time of the webinar, everybody will be on mute. However, if you have any questions, and we hope that you do, we hope you have questions and comments, that you will enter them into the chat box on the sidebar of your GoToWebinar. And we will be taking some time to answer those questions throughout the webinar. And also midway through, to keep it lively and entertaining and making sure that you're paying attention, there'll be a poll that my colleague Christina is going to be launching for all of you, where we want to get some of your thoughts on the topic for today. So as I said, I'm Carolyn, and I'm with NEEP, Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnerships. NEEP's a regional energy efficiency organization, and we span all the way from West Virginia all the way to Maine. And we envision the region's homes, buildings, and communities are transformed into efficient, affordable, low-carbon, resilient places to live, work, and play. We know that we have a number of folks that are joining us today from around the country. We just want to note that while we span the 13 states in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, we are one of 6 RIOs, Regional Energy Efficiency Organizations, from across the country. So if you are joining us from California, good morning, extra good, early good morning. We know there's a number of folks that got up early to listen to the webinar. We have colleagues that span all the way Florida and Oregon and Texas. So if you're beyond our region, please engage with our sister organizations as well. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our featured speaker this morning, Craig Foley, who's an associate broker, realtor, lead green associate. He has more titles and more accolades than one can count, although it's probably not enough, right, Craig, for all of the work that you're doing. He's the founder of Sustainable Real Estate Consulting Services, a lead green associate, and the chief of energy solutions for RE/MAX Leading Edge. Craig's combination of real estate and energy management skills give him a unique perspective about sustainable energy solutions and subject matter expertise on greening the MLS and high-performance home valuation and marketing. As a real estate broker, he has sold several high-performance projects in and around the greater Boston area with RE/MAX Leading Edge. And he's got a wide portfolio and a very interesting one that I'm sure he'd love to sell you a home or talk to you more about that.
Well, as I look at that picture, Carolyn, my brokerage has been on my back to change my profile picture because now I'm heavier, older, I have gray hair, and less so I've got to change that evidently.
A little bit. It's still a nice picture, but yeah, you could put some of your high performance homes that you have on there that you're featured. So at this time, Craig, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can walk us through.
Thanks, Carolyn. Appreciate it. So as Carolyn noted, here, particularly in the Northeast, that picture on the bottom is from my MLS, which has 78 different green data fields. We have plenty of green data fields in MLSs really spread across the United States right now. But one of the challenges is listing agents getting the information, populating that information appropriately. And despite what our really great visionary president, Elizabeth Mendenhall for National Association of Realtors says, which is absolutely true, that realtors need to be leaders in the sustainability discussion, I find as a practical matter that many listing agents are worried about populating the green data fields out of fear that they may not be entering the information correctly. Not every real estate professional specializes in high-performance home marketing and valuation, and the home with high-performance features is unique. It's not just selling granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. Many features, when we're talking about energy efficiency, aren't even visible for buyers and real estate agents and appraisers. Another big problem for listing agents is if the homeowner hasn't done a good job of archiving certifications and HERS scores, in that kind of case, where does the listing agent go to find that information to accurately populate those fields? I'm really excited to be part of this really terrific group that has been working on a solution for this problem for listing agents, getting the right information in the green data fields out there. Really been a privilege for me to be participating in this project now for running on 3 years now. And the idea of the project is, what if a database was created that could archive green home certifications, voluntary energy scores, solar PV data, so that MLSs throughout the Northeast could access that database, and when a listing agent enters a new listing into their MLS, the green home data would be auto-populated into the fields with an address match. And that's the premise of what HELIX is and what we're talking about today. That's the solution that's out there. And we know that there's a need for this data. There's a growing number of home buyers that are interested in learning about this information. We're seeing lots of evidence that home buyers are clearly interested in sustainable home features. That chart on the bottom, which you can barely see, comes from the second annual NAR sustainability report that was just published in 2018. In that report, we asked realtors if their clients are having interest in sustainability in the home purchasing process. And this was nationally, randomly selected realtors across the United States. 61% said that there was interest in this topic in their sustainable home, in their home purchase. And you can see that top bit of marketing, a new ad campaign that National Association of Realtors recently released. Sustainable homes are in every marketplace, no question about that. A growing number of homeowners and home builders are retrofitting or building with high performance features. That is absolutely the case. The top pick of solar being on homes in Massachusetts, in my market share area, now we have over 70,000 homes with solar PV on the homes. That chart on the bottom was at the beginning of the process with HELIX. We did a deep dive into, is there a there in the marketplace, and is there a reason for HELIX to be? And one of the interesting stats that we pulled out was we looked at green certifications county by county here in the Northeast. And green certifications are kind of the highest level of sustainability. Third-party verified sources saying this property is on the high end of energy efficiency, of sustainability in the marketplace. And we found that in some counties, over 1,300 homes had green certifications on the homes. And the information, as I mentioned before, isn't always easy to find. It's a real challenge in the marketplace. I do a lot of teaching, Carolyn, as you know, for the NAR Green designation. I do that nationally, but certainly a lot of it here in the Northeast. And that's a pretty intensive 2-day class for realtors to be able to sit through, devote their time to. And the central question all of the time is, wow, I didn't know that this was even available, that this kind of market opportunity was out there. But then the next question is, where do I find the data? And the only answer I could ever give was, well, ResNet has a national registry and we can find the HERS scores there. But trying to get a hold of DOE home energy scores or LEED certifications for homes, if the homeowner doesn't have it, is even tough for someone like me who's really engaged in this part of the marketplace to offer. So now when I get asked that question, Carolyn, at the NAR Green designation trainings, I have a real answer, which is HELIX, which is pretty exciting. And as I mentioned, we have a project that's on its way. I'm super excited to announce to all of you that the cavalry is on its way. We have a solution that works to deal with the green home data problem for real estate professionals, and you'll hear a little bit more about that from Carolyn a little bit later. She'll do a deeper dive on that. So let's talk a little bit about why this is so important to get right. Clearly, home buyers are interested in the information. The reason I know that was I pulled data from my MLS from 2011 to 2015. We can do keyword searches. And I was interested in the number of times for sales in my MLS when listing agents use the term energy efficient. So I did that keyword search for 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. And I published those in 2016 on my blog and my website. And you can see that clearly listing agents are realizing that the term energy efficient is a selling feature in the home. What you don't see there is then I pulled the number for 2016, and that number was double the amount of entries from 2015. So there was a huge jump in 2016 all by itself. So I think we can clearly say that consumers get it. They want this information. And again, from the sustainability polling that we did, 71% of realtors across the country said energy efficiency was valuable in listing their homes. It was a valuable promotion tool. So what are the market drivers? You know, let's go into a little bit about what's driving this high performance home marketplace, this green home marketplace, whether it's new construction or whether it's retrofits or homeowners doing energy assessments at home and upgrading their homes. What are some of these drivers? Well, certainly we're seeing that consumers are a real driver in this marketplace. And what are their motivations that we're finding? You know, listing the type of homes that I'm listing which fit into this marketplace, depending on the price point of the home buyer, lower operating costs is certainly a driver. There's no question about it. You know, NEEP has on their website a home that was built in Salisbury, Massachusetts, that was a net zero home. And I think Natalie and Tom spent something like $434 to operate their home, not only their heating and cooling and lighting and AC, but their electric vehicle as well. And just think for a second how much money we're spending on heating, on our electricity bills, and then how many times we go to the gas station and compare those numbers, and you can see that that's a real driver in the marketplace. Then there's health and comfort. You know, at listing a lot of LEED certified homes, I can guarantee you that there will be a couple that shows up that has interest in the home because they have kids with some kind of respiratory issue. And they've Googled healthy homes, they found out all about LEED certifications, and most of those home buyers probably know more about LEED certification or green building certifications than, unfortunately, many agents do. And we're seeing growing interest too in consumers that lower environmental impact is becoming more and more of a decision maker in their home purchase. You know, only a few years ago when we did polling on that, when National Association of Realtors did polling on that, only 8% of consumers had that as really a critical element of their decision making. Over a two-year time span, that's already jumped to 14%. And I'll take that 14% of the marketplace, Carolyn, all day, every day. So another big driver in this, right, is changing building codes. The building codes are getting more and more rigorous from an energy efficiency perspective, and that certainly is changing the game in terms of builders having to keep up. There's no question about it, but also homeowners doing retrofit. And this great hashtag, I love this hashtag, Carolyn, building science. And I'm having the opportunity working on the projects that I'm working on to learn more and more about how much building science has advanced over the last 10 years. That top photograph was from a project that is now listed that I listed and sold in Fort Hill in Boston, and the builder used insulated concrete forms. You know, just a much more efficient way than doing the old, you know, you get the concrete guy in there and they put up all those 2x12s and they pour the concrete, and they're, you know, the 2x12s are all messy, and then they tear them down, and it takes forever to do this. Now they ship the ICFs to the site, you put them together like Legos, you pour the concrete in between the insulation, and you've got R20 in the basement. I mean, building science is evolving so quickly. That bottom picture I love, that's from a set of townhouses in Brooklyn, New York. Infrared photography on the townhouses. Guess which one of them is Passive House certified, right? And that's a retrofit that was done of a set of townhouses built in the late 1800s. But it's clear as a bell which one is not giving off the extra heat, although it seems like they've got a little trouble in the top left part of their windows, which I'm sure they're going to deal with. Another driver is the incentives that are out there for homeowners. Just an incredible amount of incentives. If you're in Massachusetts, there's the Mass Save program, which gives incredible opportunities for homeowners to put insulation in, do air sealing work, update heating and cooling units to be much more energy efficient. That website, the database for state incentives and renewables and energy efficiency, is a great website for any realtor to grab onto, take a look at what your state is offering, and it's a great way to reach out to your sphere of influence, particularly your past buyers that are now your future homeowners and hopefully will be your customers when they go to sell, about increasing the efficiency, about lowering the operating costs of their home. Another driver in the marketplace is the fact that there are now increased funding and mortgage opportunities for energy efficiency improvements as well. There's the 203K rehab loan. In Massachusetts, if you have an energy assessment, you get to access the heat loan, which is unbelievable. It's 0% financing, up to $25,000 amortized over 7 years. And there are even lenders, Carolyn, out there now that are looking at this as a market opportunity in the lending world. One of my favorite companies that I learned about over the last couple of years is this little state employees credit union in Vermont, right? And you don't have to be a state employee to go into this credit union. In fact, if you're a member of NESE, you can be in any of the states. And take a look at VSECU's website. They have some of the most sophisticated and interesting mortgage products out there that are focused on green lending. I am super impressed with that company, and we're seeing more and more of that here in Massachusetts as well. Lenders seeing that there's an opportunity here to participate in the marketplace. Another driver is just the fact that the availability of parts and materials here in the U.S. has increased substantially over the last 5 years. You know, it used to be if you did Passive House certification, you had to go to Germany to get the windows, which wasn't cost effective and probably wasn't great from an embodied energy perspective as well. Now U.S. manufacturers are producing those windows as well as air source heat pumps, and you know, the efficiency in the manufacturing industry in the U.S. has really stepped up their game because they're seeing an opportunity in the marketplace. And data, we have so much, mounds of data now that shows that energy efficient homes spend less time on market, sell for more, and have a better chance of maintaining their value in a down market. That's been a driver as well. And of course, the next generation of consumers are speaking with their wallets about eco-friendly purchases. So one of my favorite marketing groups is Shelton Group. They do a lot of marketing on green, for green companies, green data. And their latest data says 74% of consumers are making purchasing decisions based on a company's environmental reputation. 74% of consumers making purchasing decisions based on a company's environmental reputation. That's a great opportunity for the real estate community to start to think about sustainability as part of their brand and reaching out to their community. NAR is certainly thinking about that, absolutely. We've just formed a new sustainability advisory group, and you saw that picture of some of the latest marketing products that NAR is producing that's focused on sustainability in the marketplace and how we can be consumer friendly on that front. So what kinds of data are we looking for HELIX to collect in the end? Energy asset ratings, green certifications for home, even renewables are all things that we are looking at as part of the HELIX database. Carolyn's going to talk through some of the green home features and energy asset ratings here right now. Carolyn, take it away.
Right now, Craig, right now. So thanks, Craig, for that great overview. And I'm just going to do a quick snapshot, and then we'll go back to Craig, and then I will transition more into a deeper dive on HELIX. But as Craig said a few moments ago about codes and what we're seeing about codes ever evolving or updating throughout our region and really across the country. And so increasingly what you're seeing are HERS scores, the home energy rating system, that information being made available for the new home market. You're also seeing the uptake of things like the Department of Energy's home energy score. For energy asset ratings like HERS scores, in Massachusetts alone in 2016, 61% of new construction had a HERS score, and that's really tied to communities, not only Massachusetts' base code, but also if you're a stretch code community, something that we have here.
61% of new construction in Massachusetts.
61%. That's right.
Unbelievable.
That's right. Well, we should pull the data for the other states. There's a lot of other states as well that have high ratings.
I pulled the data. We have
it all. Craig has all the data. We love data. And then also just to note that in Connecticut, through a voluntary program, through their Home Energy Solutions program that's run through the Energize Connecticut program, if you are a homeowner in Connecticut, there's over 35,000 homes that actually have the DOE Home Energy Score that is available for you if you go out and you get a home energy assessment. So it gives you that benchmark of where that current existing home is.
And that evolved pretty quickly, didn't it?
Well, not so much.
Yeah.
It evolved over time. I mean, there was a lot of stakeholder engagement to figure out, and Connecticut was trying to tackle the question of they had 900,000 under-weatherized homes, and they wanted to make sure that people were comfortable and healthy in their homes. And so what could they do? And they had their Home Energy Solutions program. So they worked with the Department of Energy to roll out on a voluntary basis their Home Energy Score program. Mm-hmm. So that is available for homeowners there. And now they've seen over 35,000, which is the most in the country. Yeah. And it's the first statewide program that's been done through a utility. But there's other states that are looking at similar programs as well. And are rolling out on a voluntary basis through their utility programs, like the state of Rhode Island through National Grid is offering right now. They're doing a pilot of 150 homes with Home Energy Score as well. They have 9, which is very exciting, and just started, but there'll be more to come. And there's other states throughout the region that are looking at this as well. Aside from Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, West Virginia, there's a whole host that are looking at different labels on the asset score, whether it's tied to energy codes or an existing home, like using the Department of Energy's program or something similar. So we're seeing, an increase of these labels that are available on the voluntary set within the market. The challenge is how do you get that data, into the real estate market, and to make sure that as a real estate professional, you have access to reliable, accurate information. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can get access to that data.
Yeah, very tough to get a hold of it, no question about it.
I got a solution.
And DOE Home Energy Score primarily for existing homes. HERS scores primarily for new construction, but I've seen plenty of retrofits with HERS scores as well, right?
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about the green certifications that are out there or emerging. Certainly Energy Star for homes in the bottom left has been around since the 90s, looking at new construction homes and creating a certification, a green certification that a label that says this passed the muster from an energy efficiency perspective. Energy Star deals exclusively with energy efficiency. When we get to some of the the bigger certifications in terms of market share, LEED, National Green Building Standard, are a much more rigorous level of certification that's out there. LEED and National Green Building Standard not only deal with energy efficiency, but they deal with rainwater runoff. They deal with the construction techniques and making sure the construction disposal process is done appropriately. Using FSC certified wood as a construction material, using low VOCs, volatile organic compounds, in the construction materials so that they're getting the healthiest homes out there possible. Passive House is a new certification that we're seeing getting more and more market share here in Massachusetts, certainly. And that's a certification that's the most rigorous in terms of tight building envelopes. That picture that I showed you from Brooklyn, New York, that was a Passive House certified townhouse, and you can see how rigorous the building envelope, the tightness of the building envelope was there.
I'll just note, Craig, that we surveyed real estate professionals a little over a year ago about their thoughts on green features and what they were seeing in the marketplace. And we included Energy Star Homes and LEED for Homes and a number of certifications, and we hadn't included Passive House. Yeah. And we were very surprised when the results came back in that it was the #1 thing that was written in.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that Passive House. Well, I'm telling you live here with everybody, I love that. Passive House was, we were very surprised to see that we had a large percentage throughout the region that were noting that Passive House was, that their clients were asking about Passive House. That was the certification that they were seeing a lot of.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was great to see.
And then the last one is something that I just want to note that I think we all need to be paying attention to. So Pearl Certification is a company that NAR has, National Association of Realtors, has what's called their REACH program. So we partner with, I don't know, 5, 8, 10 companies per year that we think will help realtors if we can help get them going in the marketplace. And Pearl was our 2017 REACH partner. They're a company that started in Virginia, and I think they're going to start to create a national footprint here before too long for existing homes. Yep. Having a rater going in, a certifier going in, probably BPI certified, I'm not exactly sure what their process is, but having them go into existing homes and being able to create a certification process for existing homes. That's a real shortfall in the marketplace that I think Pearl can supply. So that's pretty exciting. Just keep your eyes and ears open.
We're talking about HELIX.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And oops, I jumped over one. The other data point that, for me, and I know for realtors, Carolyn, is super important. Energy efficiency, you and I have discussed this time and time again, is behind the walls. And a big part of what we need to do is make the invisible visible to customers, to real estate market actors, to lenders, so that they understand what's going on, right? But there's no question that for real estate agents, the big thing that stands out to them when we talk about all of this green stuff is solar PV in the marketplace, partly because it's visible. They know that when they walk up to a home and there's solar PV on the rooftop, they're going to be asked questions about it. So those data points are really critical to get in there. And as I said before, we have now over 70,000 homes in Massachusetts alone with solar PV, just growing very, very quickly in this marketplace. And there's challenges for solar PV in the transaction. One of the projects I had the opportunity to work on was with Lawrence Berkeley National Labs to look at auto population of solar PV data for MLSs across the United States, one of the early studies that we released some data to DOE about. And one of the great outcomes of that was there's a company called the Real Estate Standards Organization, RESO, which is now kind of in charge of standardizing the data fields in the 698 MLSs across the United States. And in 2016, their board of directors added to the silver certification for MLSs, which was implemented in 2018, a set of data fields for solar PV in the residential real estate transaction. So the ownership type, whether it's leased or owned, the year it was installed, the size of the system, if it's a 6.8 kilowatt system, the annual production, whether it's estimated or actual. Those are some critical data points that most realtors wouldn't understand need to be added to the information in the MLS, so the appraiser can appraise the property appropriately. So that's a really important set of data fields and data points that HELIX needs to collect.
Okay, so we are going to launch a poll for everybody. So you'll be prompted to answer this poll question on your screen. So please select the best answer or answers if there is more than one. Or you can select other and please type your own answers into the chat box on the right. So we're going to launch this.
So, and we've got a ton of realtors and appraisers and lenders on the line, but we also have program administrators.
There's program administrators. There's folks from states, from communities. It's quite a broad range. This is the point, though, Craig, where you have to sing some kind of like old song, poll question song.
Believe me, if my wife or any of my kids were on the line and they heard you suggesting me to sing, they would be.
We'd end the webinar now.
We'll
end the webinar now. Well, we'll give folks a few minutes just to read through the questions, and then.
One, I'm personally interested in helping the environment. All right, I've got a Prius. I would answer there. I see green real estate as an opportunity for my business. Absolutely, Christine, I would have answered that one too. My clients are increasingly interested in energy efficiency opportunities and upgrades when buying. Yes, absolutely. It is a cost-effective way to protect consumers. Yeah, all of the above for me is what I'd be answering.
Yeah, and so remember, if there's something that you don't see on there or you want to elaborate, feel free to type it into the chat box.
So we're at about 66% voted. I'll just give it a couple more seconds, so please get your votes in.
A bunch of others coming in. Great.
Great.
And can you put up the chat box so we can see what people are voting?
No, I'm going to read them. I'm going to read them to you. Sorry. Cliffhanger.
All right. Thanks, thanks, everybody. I'm going to close the poll now.
All right. And I will tell you then. Oh, I gotta show the results. Great. All right. So as you see on the screen, 68% of you are personally interested in helping the environment, all the way down to 22%, which is the typing into the chat box. 59%, it's a way to protect consumer from high energy costs. 44%, my clients are increasingly interested in energy efficiency, which is interesting given some of the data that we're seeing. And then a couple of folks typed into
and 60% see the green real estate market opportunity.
Yeah.
That's smart thinking for all of you on the phone.
That's right. And a couple of the others that I see in here is that they want to see more people living in healthier homes that cost less. That's their passion. Enabling builders and homeowners to realize the full value of their homes in the real estate transaction. Supporting high performance zero energy housing for low income affordable housing applications. Yes. Yep. All of the above, a couple of all of the above. It's a way to remind consumers of the choices that they have that can make a huge impact on cutting down carbon emissions. And let's see, it's one of the most optimum times that improvements will be made to the home, therefore critical to make the info public so that people are informed. Energy efficiency in the real estate transaction is a win-win for everybody, particularly the client. Let's see, existing building stock needs improvement, and it's a great way to tackle this. A utility offering rebates and incentives to upgrade equipment and homes to energy efficiency through, let's see, through programs for homeowners. People are interested in being able to promote it. A lot of folks about quality of life, rights to consumers. So there's a number of other ones.
Yeah, that's
so yeah, so it's a lot of great feedback that folks have. This is why we put the other in there, Craig, right?
Yeah.
Christina, so.
Well, and 40%, I mean, you know this as well, of U.S. energy consumption is in the built environment, right? And somebody alluded to this, but, you know, we clearly have energy environmental challenges that we have to face, and the built environment is one of the great ways, one of the great opportunities we have to tackle that. Great opportunity for National Association of Realtors or realtors, across the nation to start to look at that as a way of conveying important information to our past, present, future customers. No question about it.
Great. All right. Great. So Craig talked a little bit, and we've mentioned HELIX throughout this presentation today, and he gave a very high level of what it is. So I'm going to take you into a little bit about the HELIX world and where we are right now. So HELIX. So you're wondering, what is this? And Craig, you love to ask me this question all the time, right? This green stuff is hard.
Yeah, I do love to ask that question to you all the time.
Yeah.
This green stuff is wicked hard. It's not just hard. So how do we, what is HELIX going to do for us as real estate market actors, as agents, as appraisers, as lenders? What is it going to do?
First of all, was that your best Boston accent? Wicked had. I think you could have done better on your wicked. It doesn't have to be hard, and that is what we're hoping to achieve with HELIX. So the primary barrier to widespread access to energy information for homes in the market is that there's currently no system in place to transmit data directly from sellers trying to market their homes to the real estate listings to buyers, to use them to be able to compare the energy efficiency features. So to patch this hole, as you mentioned earlier, NEEP and various other stakeholders came together. We submitted a proposal back in 2016 to the U.S. Department of Energy, and it actually was submitted by the state of Vermont. So this is actually the state of Vermont's State Energy Competitive Programs grant, and NEEP is the prime contractor for them, working with the stakeholders that you had shown before that were on the screen. So it's hosted by Vermont, and the purpose of the project is to develop a database that's capable of automatically populating real estate listings, whether they're accessible through MLSs or portals like Trulia and Zillow, with home energy information from Home Energy Score and other sources when it's available and approved by the seller. We're calling this database the Home Energy Labeling Information Exchange, or HELIX for short. It's the first of its kind project that's focusing on the Northeast region, which includes the 6 New England states and New York. And I'll just pause and say, again, it's just right now that we're working on just those states because that's what's covered under the grant, but we will be working to take HELIX. As you see on this timeline now, we are now in year 3 of the project.
Can I make one note?
Yeah.
You made the point about the real estate portals like Trulia and Zillow and Realtor.com. All the realtors understand where this information comes from, but if you're not a realtor, or if you're just an average consumer, many people don't know that all of that data starts by the listing agent going back to their office and entering information after doing a tour of the home and entering the pictures. It goes into the MLS, then it goes out to Trulia and Zillow and all of those portals that are out there. It all starts with the listing agent, which is why it's so important to get the data right.
There's a lot of responsibility on the listing agent. You have to know a lot about that home and accurate information, not only to be able to list the home, but then also for an appraiser to be able to accurately value.
Absolutely.
And
an underwriter.
And an underwriter, exactly.
I'm comfortable with that as well.
Right. So we're currently working right now, as I said, we're in year 3 of the project. And so we will conclude at the end, actually, we're going to be concluding at the end of March of 2019. We're working currently with the states in the region that I mentioned. We're working with MLSs in the region, such as NERIN, to pilot test access to this information. We're also working with ResNet, so we mentioned, which is the Residential Energy Services Network, who holds records like HERS scores. So we mentioned HERS ratings earlier and the number that are there. If you're a real estate professional, you get that home and you know that it had a HERS score, you have to know what that HERS score is to put that in there. So we're working right now with ResNet to get that access to that information or other information they hold, like DOE Zero Energy Ready Home or Energy Star, so that you just click, you enter that address, and much like pulling the information that comes with tax assessor database and other info, that information will automatically be pulled with the listing. HELIX will help to assist not only real estate professionals, but also, as I mentioned, appraisers, and be able to compare homes using green data fields. And we feel that this can lead to more accurate valuation of that home and transparency for potential home buyers. As we look to the future of 2018 and beyond, because as I mentioned, this is a 3-year DOE-funded grant, the HELIX team is going to be working with Lawrence Berkeley National Lab to actually integrate solar PV into HELIX. So Craig mentioned the importance and the large amount of the work that you've been doing before about capturing the sun and developing kind of that roadmap for solar PV auto-pop. We'll be working with Lawrence Berkeley National Lab over the next 3 years, starting later this year and into early January, to integrate solar PV not only, and this is the exciting part, in those 7 pilot states, but the rest of the NEEP region and beyond, so across the country. So, so we are hoping to take HELIX. Again, we're just pilot testing it now in those 7 states, but our ultimate goal, being a regional entity, is that HELIX will be a viable solution, a long-term solution for the 13 states in our region, and we're having conversations now with some communities and states outside the region who are interested in using HELIX as a model.
Well, we all know, Carolyn, that everything that's good and true and right about the world starts right here in New England. So, it's certainly appropriate for us to do that.
Right. Is that when you insert the old line from former Governor Deval Patrick, who said Massachusetts invented America?
Exactly.
That's a true story, everybody. True story. That is something that he said. So I didn't make that up, but that's sometimes why people don't like New England Patriots fans. So great.
So I have one more question for you, Carolyn, before we get to the rest of the questions on the webinar. What can the people on the phone, what can we do? I mean, I'm deeply committed to this project, obviously. What can we do to help HELIX succeed, to move forward?
Yeah, that is a great question. Well, I would say right now that if you are a real estate professional, you're a realtor and you're listing a home, I would go back to your MLS and ask, are you engaging right now with the HELIX team? So as you know, because you were with me, we were having discussions with MLS PIN. I mentioned we're working already with Meg and the wonderful team at NEERN.
NEERN is killing it.
NEERN is hitting it out of the park, but we want to be able to engage with the other MLSs in the region. So I guess I would ask, one, if you are, if your MLS is not currently talking to us, come, give me a call. I'd love to work with you. We're going to be setting up a little roadshow this summer of meeting and doing demos with MLSs. But the other part too is we have a number of stakeholders on the phone that are representing utility program administrators who have access to data in different programs. So in Vermont's case, we're looking at not just home energy score and HER scores, we're looking at other programs that Vermont has developed through Efficiency Vermont. So if you're a utility program administrator in our region, we want to talk to you about how we can also capture and auto-populate that information. That would be helpful. So I just really want to talk to everybody. If you're a state, I want to talk to you, or we're talking to communities. So
I think for realtors, you make a great point, because we're member-driven organizations. Our local association, our state association, our national association, our MLSs are all member-driven organizations. And believe it or not, I used to be shy and not ask these questions because I didn't think I would get an answer. And that's baloney. We have so much. We have such a great ability to be able to make change happen at our local, state, and national real estate associations and MLSs. So that's a great ask of people, I think.
Great. So let's take a pause and look at some of the questions. Let's take a pause and maybe answer a question or two that we have, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some upcoming events, resources, and then we'll go back to some of the questions that were asked. So let me just take a pause. Again, please enter them into the chat box that are in here. People love polls. So there's a couple of questions, Craig, for you. One is, we will send a post, we will include this in the follow-up email, but once again, could you repeat the name of the credit union in Vermont? There was a number of folks who were very excited and want to go to that link.
Yeah, absolutely. Vermont State Employees Credit Union. So I think their URL might be vsecu.com, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's Vermont State Employees Credit Union, and it's a great website. It's pretty easy to use. You can get to their green products, their green loan products, and they're outstanding. I mean, they've really put a set of products together that are very, very thoughtful.
Right, and you said that if you're a NESE member, you can get access.
Even me in Massachusetts, I have access to VSCCU, so it's great.
So if you're not familiar with NESE, NESE is the New England Sustainable Energy Association, so we can include a link to that as well.
That's great.
They're also a great partner of ours, so thank you for that, and we will again include that. Someone's excited because they're calling Pearl today for a new listing.
Oh, nice.
So we also are excited about Pearl, and as I mentioned to Craig, the HELIX team is having a conversation about ways we can integrate Pearl into HELIX as well. So stay tuned on that. Craig, you mentioned your 2-day course that you've done. I know you've done this in New Hampshire and Massachusetts and the Cape and the Islands and Maine.
Vermont, yep.
Vermont,
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Craig's you're on the road a lot. Is the 2-day course eligible for CEUs?
Yes, it depends on the state that you're in, of course. I've never taught it in New Jersey, so I'd have to go down there. But the way we work it in the states up here in the Northeast is it's a 2-day class. You get the green certification through National Association of Realtors, which is one of the fastest growing certifications at NAR for good reason. And then, in Massachusetts, we have 8 credits that kind of fit in the framework that I feel comfortable that realtors could get. So 8 out of their 12 continuing ed hours that they have to fulfill can get fulfilled. So if New Jersey's interested in that, I'd be happy to talk to an education director and see how we could make that work, certainly. Great.
And the next question came in about HELIX and want to know if there's plans to take HELIX national, as it would be a great assistance across the country. So thank you for that. We agree. We do want to note that there is also a sister project that is happening now that our partners at Earth Advantage are running. They're helping with the Portland, Oregon ordinance. So there's a green building registry that's taking place out on the West Coast right now. And I believe they're also engaged in Missouri right now as well in having some discussions. But as the HELIX team right now, we are focused on wrapping up and making sure that HELIX is functional and working in the 7 pilot states, and then we can expand beyond those states to include all of the NEEP regions of the 13 states and beyond. So as I said, we have been having conversations with a few jurisdictions outside the region that are interested in how to collect this data for different programs. And so we're always interested in the conversation. We do think that it could be a viable long-term solution for the marketplace, and it might be something eventually that NEEP, while we're the prime organizer for it, it will stay with NEEP for the foreseeable future, but it will be something that we may spin off down the road. So that is what we're working on right now. Is we're working on our governance operating structure, and then how do you pay for it going forward, which is a whole other question. So please stay tuned for that. A follow-on question to that is there's a number of states or regional certification programs across the U.S. So how does the certification programs get added to HELIX? That's a great question. We are cataloging right now not only data providers as well as data aggregators. So we are have a catalog of a list like Pearl or getting information from ResNet and or USGBC for Lead for Homes, and having conversations so that we can get access to that information, because we want to get it at the highest source possible to eliminate confusion, make sure we have consistency, and to streamline the process as much, not only for the team, but also for real estate professionals.
Well, we want accurate third-party verified data, definitely. Yep. And that will be huge for us.
Great. Take one more. Yeah, somebody posted an interesting question in here, but let's see. Someone asked, so you've talked about it. I think you and I both probably talked about quality of life is made better, but whose quality of life is made better, Craig, in this process?
Whose quality of life is made better? Well, I think consumers, clearly, first of all, the real estate industry market actors, because again, if we can get access to third-party verified data and it's accurate and it can be auto-populated, it makes real estate agents lives easier, because this stuff, you know, you have to be kind of a specialist right now in the high performance home marketplace, understanding building science, what's going on with energy efficiency, with renewables, which can be terribly confusing for real estate agents. This can help to make their lives a lot easier. For appraisers, for valuation, there's no question that the accurate data can really be super helpful for them. I know that that's one of their biggest frustrations in terms of us as real estate agents, is making sure that the right information and the accurate information is added to the MLS. And then, of course, for lenders, you know, if we can verify that this information is out there and it's leading to lower default rates, it will help them. And you know, I think the environment in the end is something that stands to really have we have a huge opportunity in our industry to be part of some of the energy and environmental challenges, and it starts right here with making sure the data is right in the MLS and consumers are engaged and knowledgeable about what it is that they're buying. Great, thanks for answering that.
Another question that came in is again about HELIX, the National Green Building Standard and LEED certification information. Will it automatically be sent to HELIX from those national agency, or does a team member need to step in to get it? So we haven't moved forward with that yet. We have a kind of a short priority list of trying to get access to some of the regional programs, state programs that are here, Home Energy Score, and as I said, working with ResNet, but that is certainly on our list right now to engage at the national level to get access to that information. And then, will HELIX extend to multifamily properties and rental units? That's a great question, and that is if there's information that's listed, as long as that home has that data or that information and it's listed then through the multiple listing service, then yes, it could appear in there. So there is access to that information.
That brings up an interesting question for me, though, actually, is, you know, single families and condos, we have the green data fields. There's a smaller subset in my MLS for multifamilies, and that may be something that we have to tackle on MLS perspective as well. Sure. It's a great point.
Yeah. And then a follow-up question actually that also is about, you know, HERS and Energy Star, and does that information get automatically transferred to HELIX? And so yes, so what will happen is, and we'll plan a follow-on webinar in the coming months that actually will take you through what HELIX actually looks like from a user perspective. For you, really, it's seamless on the back-end mechanics of the voodoo magic of our IT developer, of what she's pushing and pulling of information and a lot of data encoding. But basically what you'll see is that you'll be able to have a screen view of that particular home, and you'll be able to pull up that address and be able to see if it has a HERS score of the information. And so similar, if you're entering in a home's address of 5 Amazing Lane, and here's this house, and you know, it pulls up, and then it would pull all that other tax assessor, other information that's already ID'd to that program through the data aggregator, through your multiple listing service. It will, because we're working with the MLSs, if it has a HERS score, or if it has a LEED, if it has a HERS score, if it has DOE Zero Energy Ready Homes program, that information seamlessly will just appear. That's what we're working to do. So there won't be anything more that you will need to do. But we'll have this database so that if you're an appraiser, you'll be able to go in and search for those homes that then have a HERS score or that have LEED for homes once we have that information available. So, all right, let me, and again, yeah, they're great questions, a lot of questions that are in here. So then someone want to know if HELIX is adopted in other areas like the Southwest. It's currently not, but we are talking to a couple of stakeholders in the Southwest. We're also engaging our sister organizations about, you know, the potential of using HELIX there. So please do stay tuned. As I said, we're working just on our region for now, and then we will work to expand it. And then somebody wants to know about what is the date the solar PV could be included in the MLS. So right now we are working to include Massachusetts solar PV, Vermont, and we're trying to also include New Hampshire's data as well through NERIN to get that information in there. And then with the we're looking to then expand that into the marketplace and expand what that would look like for HELIX in other states. One of the challenges with PV, without getting too complex or too deep a dive on it, is that how the PV records are kept at the statewide level, and it's different in every state. Massachusetts has the Clean Energy Center. Other states, it's in a database system, and then there's also a lot of confusion whether it's a permit has been pulled but it hasn't been installed, and what kind of system is there. So we are working with Lawrence Berkeley National Lab that we have to set up some standardization so that we don't have basically that garbage in, garbage out, that we have clean, accurate data that will go into HELIX. So I'm going to pause for a second on questions and share a couple of resources, and then we'll go back to questions. So if you want to know more about HELIX, we invite you to join us on Friday, December 7th at the Biltmore Hotel in Providence, Rhode Island. There is a link there that we'll also send around to you. It is currently, we're very thankful to National Grid Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Energy Offices, E for the Future, who are sponsoring the event, although there are other sponsorship available as well. We will be having exhibitor space, so if you have a product or service in the real estate market, please let me know. We'd love to have you there, but this will give you a whole overview of not only HELIX and how it works in the marketplace, but we'll be having a day-long discussion, and the day before, on December 6th, we'll be showcasing the National Grid Energy Innovation Hub, which has a lot of great technology. That's at the Dunk Center, which sounds weird to say, but the Dunk Center, that's what they call it. It's not the Dunkin' Donuts Center anymore, it's the Dunk Center. So maybe we'll give out free donuts while we're there. So please check out the website. We'll be posting the draft agenda in the coming weeks, but we hope to see you all there. We also just want to flag for you all that if you're looking for more information to help you out, or some of the data that Craig mentioned on the webinar today, NEEP has a green real estate resource page, as does the Department of Energy, has a lot of great resources, not only about home energy score, but about direct PowerPoint presentations and fact sheets that are specifically geared towards real estate professionals. And on the NEEP website, you'll be able to download later today 4 one-pagers that actually talk about HELIX and how it interacts, or the benefit for multiple listing service, appraisers, MLSs, and also states. And coming soon will be one specifically geared towards cities. And so, and I said there's a whole bunch of voodoo magic and all sorts of stuff that's happening on the right-hand side. You can see that's the whole HELIX architecture, which is actually based on a program that was developed, a platform that was developed by the Department of Energy. I'll return back to questions in the last couple of minutes, but coming soon, if you go to the NEEP website or you Google HELIX and NEEP, you'll actually be able to come to, it's neep.org, it's helix.neep.org, and you'll be able to actually get to the HELIX website. But this is as far as you get to see, because we're still in our beta and pilot testing with the states, but very soon you will all be able to log in to have viewing right and access, and there will be different hierarchies that will be set up for the states in the program. So a state and a utility running a program will have a deeper dive, more granular look at the data that's in HELIX. But if you're an appraiser or a real estate professional, you'll be able to get access to be able to accurately value energy efficiency in perhaps a home that you're looking to list or sell. So I will pause and go back to the questions. Somebody asked, are there any canned, ready training materials to educate real estate community on green fields? So I know that the Department of Energy, at the link that I shared previously, does have a PowerPoint presentation that is available.
Yeah, I mean, I think this question is about individual MLSs and green data fields in their MLS. That's a great question. And the short answer is probably not, and I think it's a shortfall in the marketplace. MLSs could take on some of that work. We could do continuing ed credits to explain green data fields. I think that's I think it's a really good suggestion. We need to tackle that, and that might be something that we as HELIX want to think about as well, Carolyn.
Great.
Great point.
Great. And there's a couple of folks who have typed in that are just looking for more of a deeper dive, some of the state folks in the Mid-Atlantic. So I will, not ignoring your question, I will follow up with you offline to have a deeper dive conversation about how we can help you in engaging real estate community, or how potentially HELIX could work for your states. Let's see. I'll throw you one, Craig. Ready?
All right.
All right. How do you envision existing leaky homeowners reacting when they find out it's difficult to sell their homes and they discover how inefficient their house is? So if you're coming to my house and it's terribly inefficient, and
so
it's not, though, because I've done an audit and I've now retrofitted it.
Yes, yeah. And when you go to sell, you're going to contact.
I'm going to call you.
Thank you. Very good. But answering the question, so there are lots of data points in the real estate transaction, right? I own a Victorian in Melrose because I love old homes, right? And Victorians, when you start to think about it from a building science perspective, is probably the least efficient home. It's in Melrose, which is great. It's near a school. There's a lot of great things about our house. I own a vacation house in Jaffrey, New Hampshire that was built in '86 with a kind of passive solar home design on it. And we'll put solar on that rooftop when we move up there, and probably do some kind of a deep energy retrofit. So, we all as real estate agents experience all kinds of homes across the spectrum. And we know that buyers have interest in historical homes, in the neighborhoods, in school locations. This is just one more data point that's out there. I've heard this argument quite a bit, and I understand it. I understand those fears, absolutely. This isn't an exact analogy, but I think it's worth mentioning. Way back in '73, '74, when the U.S. government decided to put an energy asset rating, an energy asset score in the passenger vehicle fleet, in the miles per gallon number that they put on passenger vehicles, that was one of the fears. Well, wouldn't low-performing vehicles, they'll never sell. But I look around and I see plenty of SUVs and I see plenty of trucks, and I've got my Prius, but I don't see Priuses overrunning the marketplace right now. It's just a choice, right? It's a choice that I have in buying cars. And I know nothing about cars, so I look at two things. I look at the price tag, and then I go to the side windows and I see the miles per gallon, and I know for me that I get 50 miles per gallon and I drive all over New England teaching these classes, that means lower operating costs for me. My environmental impact is important for Craig Foley. So it's one more data point, it's one more choice that's out there. I think there's a lot of kind of fear, and some of it borders on alarmist when we get to some of the worries in the real estate community about this. I think it's just another data point that some consumers are going to find helpful.
Great. So we are just after noon, and so we're running just a little bit long. As I said, there's a number of other questions. So what we will do is we'll include them kind of in a follow-up Q&A to make sure that we haven't ignored anybody's questions that have been asked. There's also been a number of great resources that a few folks have shared with us. So thank you, Sandy and Meg and Mike, for sharing those resources. So we'll make sure that they're up on the website, but also we'll make sure to include them as a follow-up. And a couple of folks have just asked to follow up on offline. And then lastly, there was just one question that asked if we are just curious, the person is curious if HELIX will include landscaping, energy-saving trees, since landscaping accounts for 10% more of the value of the home. And so right now that would only be captured, as Craig mentioned, in any kind of green labeling program like LEED or Passive House, if it's included in those labeling programs themselves. So we're trying to tackle it as a whole comprehensive program, so that at this point, that's what we would be looking at. So there's always conversation or something to look at down the line. Just one last thing. And one of the questions just came in. I was just getting to the slide. So yes, so here is both Craig and my contact information. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions at all on any of the topics that we discussed today. We will be doing future webinars, so as you are closing out today, feel free to type into the chat box if there's other additional topics or a deeper dive that you want. A few folks asked questions about certification systems and the different labeling systems that are available, and what do they mean, and how does Pearl compare to Lead for Homes and Pass
That's why you take the NAR green designation right there. That's where we do a 2-day deep dive on all.
Deep dive, and you will get it all. So feel free to reach out, and our colleague Christina Robacher will be sending you all of the slides. They'll be posted shortly later today to the NEEP website. So please reach out with any questions, and we hope that we will see you all on Friday, December 7th in Providence, Rhode Island. I forgot to mention there's a wonderful reception that will be taking place the night before, so in a Skyline Ballroom. So please join us for the great discussion that we'll be having about HELIX. And thank you so much, Craig, for your time today, and thank you all of you for attending. We really appreciate it, and we will be in touch.
Thanks, Carolyn. It was wicked fun.
Wicked.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy 4th of July.